The following is a presentation of the ForceCenter podcast feed.
From the center of the galaxy, this, my friends, is the ForceCenter podcast feed. I'm Ken Napzok.
And I am Joseph Scrimshaw, and today we have on our plate of Star Wars deliciousness some news and some cues.
News and cues and talks of food. That's what we do around these parts. Yes, we do. Gotta get into some great questions as well and more. Before we do that, hey, you know what we do here. We want to remind you today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. A little bit later, as always, we'll have our ForceCenter recommends an audiobook we think you should try out on us. But that's not all.
No, we have another offer. Inside Editions is a publisher of a ton of great Star Wars books and other pop culture books. In fact, I saw a gift for my wife advertised and realized, hey, that's on Inside Editions. You know what I'm going to do? Use this discount. They are offering 35% off across their website if you use this special link, insideeditions.com/discount/FC35. This week, we are recommending the Inside Editions book, Jedi Artifacts. It's a fold-out book that has, exactly as the title describes, a bunch of Jedi artifacts, some timelines. I used to do a show on the Force Center podcast feed called Star Wars Counseling. I'm using this book as Star Wars counseling. If there's too much discourse and things get a little heated, I've been opening up this and just looking at those artifacts, and they make me so happy about Star Wars. So if you want to have that experience, you can use the link insideeditions.com/discount/FC35.
I was going to say, man, I love enjoying Star Wars, so I'm going to dump some artifacts out of my deck.
Are you you flipped this thing open, right?
I absolutely have. Yeah, I have it right here in the studio, and it's just one of those fun little Star Wars books that you just look at it on your shelf, and you don't even need to open it. You're like, yeah, Star Wars, man, it's cool. It's
yeah,
cool.
Lightsabers, Jedi, good intentions. Come on.
Yeah, good intentions. Well, like Joseph said, use that link, insideeditions.com/discount/FC35. And you can check out the Jedi artifacts as well. We always like to talk about Star Wars and life adventures. And, sometimes I have such a quiet, relaxing weekend. It seems boring and I have no adventures. But so, Joseph, hopefully you went wild this weekend.
I went wild by going to a public park and a bookstore, which did feel wild. I've been in a lot, got a lot going on professionally, personally, lots of stuff. It's such a busy and exciting time for Star Wars between Boba Fett and High Republic. So there's always a lot going on. And yesterday on Sunday, as we record on Monday, my wife and I are like, we both need to get out of the house. So we went to this wonderful park garden institution, Huntington Gardens in the general Los Angeles area in Pasadena. And then there's a used bookstore that I wanted to go check out. So we did that all masked and everything. And I found a couple of fun Star Wars books, Ken. One I did not pick up, but I was like, is this some weird knockoff? Because there was a picture of the Falcon on it. And then there was a word, I can't remember what word, and then it said Yan Solo with a Y. It's like, what else? Like, oh, it's a French edition of a Star Wars book. So I took a picture of that one, but I didn't pick it up. What I did pick up, Ken, is there's this weird little volume that I know physically existed, but I had never myself seen in a store. Came out, I believe, in early 2016. And it's like Aliens of the Galaxy, and it's Force Awakens tie-in. And it's where that story that always pops up on Wikipedia research of Sadana Thano in the Lost Treasure of Count Dooku. And it's got a Constable Zuvio story that introduces his cousins.
That's right. He's got the two cousins, yes.
Yeah, it's this one little random book. It says volume 1. I don't know if there were more volumes. It pops up on Amazon all the time, where Amazon's like, "Do you want to buy this for your Kindle?" And I don't read books on electronic devices. It's just I like physically having them and smelling them and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I was delighted to see that physical book at this used bookstore. So I grabbed that.
Yeah, see, there you go. You can always find Star Wars somewhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere, and it's absolutely beautiful. My other Star Wars adventure, Ken, was a fun book adventure where the Taschen book, that Great Star Wars Archives, the prequel edition.
Yeah.
It came up on social media because I follow the author, who always shares interesting and insightful things, saying, hey, it's on discount. Instead of $200, it's $100.
Ooh.
And I clicked through right away, and it was like, short time while supplies last. And I was like, my wife's working from home today. I shouldn't just hit the button. I should check. So I walked into the other room, and it's like, so there's this Star Wars book. It's very expensive. And she's like, oh, you mean that Taschen one? I just saw the ad for it, and I was going to tell you. You should buy that.
Perfect.
But so that very large book is on its way.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. We'll have to dive through that here on the show. I think the bigger question, other than the monetary commitment that it takes to purchase that book, is the size of the book and the storage options that you'll need to discuss.
Yeah. I'm really thinking that we need a new coffee table.
As Bail Organa would say, now is the time.
Yep. Now is the time. Yes. If you need a new coffee table, now is the time. Says also Obi-Wan.
Yes.
To Dion Madun.
Yes, that's true. Sorry.
If you have a better bookcase, now is the time.
So it is. Is what I meant. Man, I'm excited for you. I am just up to Revenge of the Sith on that book, so taking my time, page by page.
Yeah, just really letting it soak in, huh?
Yeah. It's great. Paul Duncan, wonderful job. It's two of my favorite things that I own in Star Wars. I could just live in them all day. And they're so big, you can just crawl into them.
Well, I can't wait to have that arrive, hopefully on the same day that my Razor Crest arrives, and I will simply just have no physical space left in my home.
Yes. Oh, God. Yes.
Yeah, I know, right? So anyway, those are my Star Wars adventures. I am very curious about your relaxing weekend and how Star Wars became a part of your relaxing weekend.
Well, it was... You and I live that kind of professional life, Joseph. We're pretty much always working 7 days a week, and sometimes it's fine. And I am work. Work is me. I have no problem with that. But other times you just want to kick back. And so I made a run out. I was donating some books to a library, the Chatsworth branch, the Los Angeles County Library. My friend Chris, a listener to the show, we sometimes read his questions, is Carbon Swap. Chris is a librarian, former stand-up comic with me, and so I went out there. So we caught up. We actually went to a park as well. We went to a Del Taco because we both love Del Taco, and they, no inside dining. So we were out having a picnic in this windy part of the valley. But I swung by my comic shop and got all my comics. And so I was like, you know what? I just really need to buckle down and not let these Star Wars ones linger. So I'm trying to get through them. And I've admitted before, I've been pretty direct about it in our Discord, where, the comics last couple of years, especially the Marvel mainline stuff, I haven't connected with it as much. It hasn't been my favorite Star Wars stuff. Not that there's not great things in them, and the Rise of Kylo Ren stuff, we love that here. So I say that, but I also want to make sure if I connect with something, that I want to share that. And I really, really enjoyed them. 4 issues, and I know it's a shorter run series, so Trail of Shadows, which is the High Republic little sub-series from Daniel Jose Older, and David Wachter is the man drawing all that wonderful stuff there. And it is it's just been fun. I've really enjoyed the series. This follows Jedi Emmerich and a kind of a private investigator, Cian, and she's also plays music. She's a singer, all this stuff, and it's just been a lot of fun, and it's been something different, very well written. And it runs along this, the fallen star, actually runs up to it and picks up from one of the big deaths. I'm trying to keep some spoilers out of it.
Yeah.
Anyways, all that to say, not just the adventure and the plot and what's going in it. I just really had a fun read. And as I said, sometimes the comics, it's not because they're bad. I struggle to connect with them. I feel as though it's a chore. Sometimes I got a stack of 10. I got to get through them, and I'm just flipping pages. And this one, I actually read the first 2, and I was like, oh, I got 3 and 4 right here. I'm going to keep reading. And I finished those 4. So I want to shout out that series, the High Republic Trail of Shadows comic.
Oh, that's great. I'm really looking forward to that. I've heard nothing but good things. I generally try to wait until it's all collected. So I think one more issue, then there should be a whole volume, and I'll buy it. But yeah, everything I've heard about it, that it's got these great noir aesthetic to it, noir ideas. And I really like that idea of Jedi investigating, of Jedi actually looking into a problem actively instead of just meditating about it.
Yes. And the newer stuff, yeah, Obi-Wan will be proud. This is a great investigation there. So I was able to sit back and read that, and that was kind of it for Star Wars Adventures. Just took some time, relaxed, read some Star Wars for fun. I am back obsessed with Red Dead Redemption Online. I'm not hunting animals; I'm collecting samples from animals. So I just spent like hours walking and riding around a map, shooting rabbits with sedatives, so I could take their samples. It was a weekend. It was a weekend.
When you say you take rabbit samples, I haven't played Red Dead Redemption 2. I've played Dead Redemption 1. What did you take, like some fur to sell?
You have your varmint rifle, Joseph. Then you put in your 22 caliber sedatives that you buy from Harriet, who's the naturalist in the game, and then you go and you chase down animals. And unfortunately, it takes about 12 shots for me to get the animal to go to sleep.
Strong rabbits.
Yes, and you go press square and you get a sample. What that sample is, you just, I don't know, and then you go sell it back to her for cash money, it's a great deal, and you save the animal. And then for bonus points, you can revive the animal. And the animal, wakes back up. And so I always have to do that. And now sometimes it's, wild boar and coyotes and stuff. So it's not just the rabbits. So you have to sometimes revive, like I've revived some wolves that have attacked me, and you have to revive and run.
Revive and run.
But I just can't, I'm just like, this is why I love, Ray and the Vexus. Like I just, Ray and even BB-8. Like I just love, like, hey, you got to show some compassion to your other beans out there. So it's, and then occasionally you get in a shootout. But, other than that, the game's been relaxing.
That is great. And I think you just predicted what might be the follow-up to Jedi Fallen Order.
Yes.
Revive and run. That is the way of the Force.
Did you feel bad about slicing animals with your lightsaber? Now you can just tap them and then revive them.
Get an ambiguous sample. I love those ambiguous moments in video games. You got a sample. Not going to tell you what it is.
Not going to tell you at all. So from the high plains of Red Dead Redemption all the way to this galaxy, we're going to go to some Star Wars news and stick with video games. Catching up some news last week. Electronic Arts, EA to you and me, and Lucasfilm Limited to you and me announced new games in development with Respawn Entertainment. Now, up top, this sounds like I'm making some bad joke. I am so sometimes disheartened and confused by video game news, Joseph, because I don't know what companies are good or not. I don't mean that cynically, or I just am like, I want to research it, but Respawn going strong and holding steady. So let's all get excited for this. We have got 3 games. Here's what we got going on. Stig Asmussen returns to lead the next installment of the Star Wars Jedi series. This is, of course, the Fallen Order series. We kind of touched upon that a little bit. Peter Hirschman will be the game director of the first-person shooter game they've announced. And Respawn is working with another studio, Bit Reactor. I'm not, it gets so confusing for me. Just one company make these games. Respawn, working for EA and Lucasfilm, is working with Bit Reactor to make the strategy game with game director Greg Forsch. So no details yet on the games, but all the games, Star Wars games, roll on. As I said, we discussed a possible Star Wars Jedi or Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order sequel game recently, but our thoughts on these new titles and then the game styles, because I'm really excited about this strategy one here, Joseph. What do you think about all this?
I think this is great. I think there's a little bit of the, you've got a great vibe of, here's my dated Saturday Night Live reference for the episode of unfrozen caveman lawyer of like, I don't understand all you strange multi-company video games. One company, just make a video game. Which I understand and I relate to. I Googled, it looks like Respawn has made the Titanfall games, a game called Apex Legends that did apparently have some controversy with some people involved. Made Jedi Fallen Order game Medal of Honor Above and Beyond, and now it looks like they are must have gone really well working with EA on Jedi Fallen Order, because now they are developing all 3 of these new games that have been announced.
Yeah. Thanks on the fly for that on the fly research. Like I said, I'm not joking. I just number one, it gets confusing too, and just forget some of the controversies have been attached to some of the studios. But then I'll be like, oh, I like that game. The people are like, oh, Superstar Studios, come on. I'd be like, what? Like, look, I thought, to me, it's PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. Those are the ones that make the games. I get how it works, but those are the ones that make the games.
It is nice sometimes, I think, when, we're here doing our Star Wars podcast, and we were in deep and like, well, let's really be clear about, is that a scurrier or a womp rat? And like all those kind of details that most people be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That sometimes we approach other things that we are not as immersed in the culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously it's a time of great upheaval for many industries, but clearly video game companies are one of them. So I think it's worth looking at.
Mm-hmm.
I spend a lot of my time typing company name controversy and seeing what pops up. But anyway, point being, I think all I take from the Respawn thing is that the relationship with Jedi Fallen Order was good. So good that not only are they making sequel, but 2 other games with EA.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great stuff there. What's jumping out to you from these 3 games and 3 styles?
Yeah, I'm really excited about just the confirmation of the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order follow-up, in that it is Star Wars Jedi. Sometimes I think, we have already talked about it because these things were they were predicted, rumored, reported, and this is a confirmation from actual sources. I'm so excited to see how that develops, because I think it's such an interesting story of where that game leaves off, spoilers, that there are Jedi who are actively like, we should go around the galaxy being Jedi and helping people, but how exactly do we do that under the thumb of the Empire, and what are our responsibilities if we're not just going to full force rebuild the Order? So picking up that story is fascinating. It could be that video game is the story of what could possibly be BD1, how he ended up with Pelimoto.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I think the thing, to answer your question directly, Ken, is it's really fun to see this era of games where they really announce it's this type of game. Because I think when I was gaming much more actively, 10 to 15 years ago, there'd be those games that kind of try to be a little bit of everything. And like one of the game styles would work really well, and then another would be kind of janky. So I'm really excited to see, like, are these going to be a little bit like Star Wars Squadrons, where it's a little cheaper, a little smaller in scale, but it's just sort of like all in on this one specific idea. Like, let's take a Star Wars shooter and make it, you're not going to fly anything.
Yeah.
This is the best, just every iteration, every idea about a first-person shooter in Star Wars.
I like that idea you're putting out there. There's something, even though Squadrons didn't fully connect with me, it's fun just to have it there. And because it was priced to go a little lower, it's a little less of a commitment too. If I don't play it, I don't feel bad. It's just there. It's part of my library of games. And if I want to fly a Y-Wing, I go play the game. So if more direct and smaller scale, we're still waiting for the big giant Red Dead Redemption type or Uncharted type of Star Wars game. Fallen Order had those vibes. It was a little too, I had to go where I had to go on that game too many times for me. Would have loved to stop, but I guess then again, Lego Star Wars might be that too. You can go explore garage. So yeah, I'm with you on just like knowing what you got to get, knowing the style and approaching it like that.
Yeah, and if I don't need everything to be epic. Like, I love wandering in video games, but it does take a huge amount of time. So for me, and I think just with the amount of content in general from every form of entertainment, I wonder if we're in a world where it's like, hey, it's $40, it's 12 levels. You play a bounty hunter, a rebel spy, or whoever you're going to be in this first person shooter. That's almost even more attractive to me than something that I have to give an incredible amount of time to.
Yeah. Quit your job and leave your family, sit at home for 19 straight days playing Star Wars. Yeah, not possible. So I'm on board for that. Strategy game. I love this idea. There's been a lot of different kind of strategy games in the past, and I honestly didn't play them as much as I thought I would, because I was a big fan of like Age of Empires, Command and Conquer in the 90s. Oh my gosh, I used to play that so much, especially Command and Conquer 2. So I've always loved kind of Star Wars games like that. And if I could get one in big, giant video game form, I'm in. If it's a weekend or my life, I'm in.
Yeah, and I should always caveat, I have a borderline video game problem. So once I get all in, it's hard for me to pull away, which is part of the reason I like I can play for this long and I have completed it. Hooray. Yeah, the strategy game though, I'm really with you. I would love, on a console, a galactic battle type thing. What do you want out of a strategy game?
I want to be able to control down to like some of the minute details, like really feel like I'm in control of a Star Wars battle. And again, there may have been samples in the past of this being successfully done. I didn't play them as much. Was a Galactic Empire or Empire War, something, one of those Galaxy War. I can't remember. That's the point. I can't remember. So yeah, where I just really feel like I'm super in control of my personnel, what I want to do. Down to, I always make reference to that Commodore 64 NASA game where you have to launch up to the space stations, like 1986. You had to hire and fire the correct scientists for your project. Like that's the kind of control, because jokes aside, I'm addicted to MLB The Show, not because I love playing baseball video games, because I love baseball, but like I love managing the contracts of these players. Like I'm down to that level. So that kind of pulls me in. If I could have that control, truly build your army to go defend the galaxy.
So you want, like, just for argument's sake, it's set in the Clone Wars, and like you want to say like, okay, well, clearly there's a separatist push on Megiddo. I want to send specifically Plo Koon, and I need his robes to be purple today.
Yes, I need Plo Koon to go. I need to choose my clone commander. I mean, if you choose a Jedi, you'd probably get his commander or his troops, right? But yeah, and mix and match. All right. Today it's Quinlan Voss heading over there with Luminara Unduli, and maybe I can convince Rex to join this. But like, yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
And you're committing like this percentage to ground, this percentage to air, that kind of thing.
I mean, you're pitching a game I want now.
And I know your longstanding and very good idea that of a kind of a management game for like pod racing, right?
I mean, if this doesn't happen in my lifetime, what's the point?
Yeah, I think I'm really intrigued by the galactic battle thing because I've so enjoyed on our rewatch of Clone Wars for the Clone Wars report show that we do, tracking what they actually say about the actual strategy in the galaxy, how that really starts with, we're trying to control the outer rim, and then it just kind of sprawls everywhere. That would be really, really fun. To play the Republic and have the game be, you can't win, but have fun. I would enjoy that very much. Do you have any desires for the first person shooter? One of the things I thought was really fascinating about that is the game director of that, Peter Hirschman, being someone who has used to be with LucasArts and worked on those original Battlefront games, saying he's had this idea for a long time. Yeah. Does that excite you? Does that make you think it's going to be a specific style of game?
Yeah, it does. And a bummer that Battlefront 3 or something more couldn't come out. I love that series, and I know you do as well. A lot of people do. But yeah, I would like that. As long as, for me, when I hear first person shooter, I just go, please let me switch to third person view. Please let me switch to third person. I cannot do literal first person shooters. They make me dizzy, confused, and I die. I can't do it. I do think it's a lifetime of playing sports games where for the most part you see your player on the field that you're controlling. So that's my first thing, Joseph. Just please let me take it out of first person. But yeah, something that's fun and a little bit more mission oriented would be great, because Battlefront, just getting all your figures on the table and playing and shooting and lightsabers, and it's you got Padme fighting General Grievous or General Grievous fighting Rey. It's all there. But like I would love if it had some, I don't want to say point to it, but you know what I mean. Like it's objectives, mission, and you are part of this team on the ground. Winning a battle, and it's a little more slower pace. The battle royale, everything's happening at once. Feel of Battlefront is very fun, but sometimes it's monotonous, but also I just kind of have fun while I just kind of, my mind goes elsewhere and I'm relaxing, right? It's almost a Zen state of pew, pew, pew. But if I can be a little bit more engaged, but from that ground level, I think I'd be into that.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand the zen of just spending a peaceful afternoon up in a Kashyyyk tree trying to snipe General Grievous from afar. I understand just the absolute beauty of that. It's a day in the park, the Del Taco Park. But yeah, I think part of it, I know games have evolved massively, but a huge part of my video game love it is that first-person shooter, all the various James Bond games I played, GoldenEye, BioShock. Like I do just I kind of want to have that classic experience of absolutely first person. Here's my hand. I hit a button to reload. My hand goes down, comes back up with a different blaster. And I somehow have 18 blasters magically strapped to one tiny belt, and I'm going down a corridor, and I got to duck behind this, and like
Yeah.
I kind of just want that classic experience. And I'm just so curious about era. If he said this is a story he's had in mind since the early 2000s when he was originally working on the original Battlefronts, does that speak to being set in the prequel era or the original trilogy era? I kind of feel like, I know a lot of people would love a Mando game, but just a general, you play a new bounty hunter, that'd be fun.
Yeah, there's something about it makes me think that it's more with the clones or something like that. But even then, he could in the early 2000s he could have been excited about the Battle of Endor too. But yeah, your idea of a specific character or player or whatnot and attach it to the bounty hunter world, that'd be fun too. If it's a little bit of a first person / strategy of how you're going to take this person into custody.
Yeah. It's going to be called Star Wars Warm or Cold.
Yes.
That's exactly what it's going to be.
Yes. Yeah. That's great stuff there. And as far as the Jedi, Star Wars Jedi or Fallen Order continuation, yeah, I think we discussed that in a little more detail. Probably will again, but yeah, there's definitely story to tell. The fact that they're leaning into this Star Wars Jedi series, is there any thought in your head at this point, Joseph, that we could go High Republic, we could go Old Republic, we could go anywhere, or just some random Jedi in a different era?
Yeah, no, I think that would be really fascinating if it is, the idea of let's take this mechanic that was really successful and this quality of storytelling, and hey, yeah, it's another Jedi in the High Republic era or the prequel era. I would be very excited by that. I would also be, I think, I would brace for impact because so many people were so moved and engaged by the story of Cal and Sarah and Marin and BD1 that I think there's such hunger to see what happens to them next. I think I would also brace for impact. well,
Yeah.
I'll be happy to play a Jedi in any era, and I really trust these writers to come up with a story that I'd like. But I'm sensitive to how much people love those characters.
Yeah, look, and it would be really odd if they were like, it's the new Star Wars Jedi game. What happened to Cal Kestis? Oh, no, we're doing something else. It would be odd. It'd be a little odd.
Yeah.
But hey, the big point of this all, Joseph, is we're going to have Star Wars games for a while and many, many choices. And you know what? As it definitely rounds out the experience as a Star Wars fan.
Absolutely.
It does. Speaking of rounding out our experience as a Star Wars fan, someone who's been making our experience as a Star Wars fan fun is Bryce Dallas Howard. Was that a good transition? Probably not. But we're going to go with it. Let's talk Bryce Dallas Howard. I am looking at a little story here from our friends at Star Wars News Net. Miguel Fernandez put together a story based off of a tweet sent out by Discussing Films editor-in-chief Jason Fisher, tweeting that sources tell him Bryce Dallas Howard will be back for an episode of Mando season 3. Now, we're not really diving in that story. I don't know the sources, but it just also kind of makes sense. It's not a big leap to think that she'd be back for that, but without confirmation, we'll just leave that as it is. So while not a fact yet, this rumor brings joy to Star Wars fans, and that's been prevalent the last few days in this last week. Just everywhere you look, it's just joy for the work of Bryce Dallas Howard. She herself experienced the joy posting and tweeting out and Instagramming thumbnails of Star Wars reactors and YouTube channels, including the fine folks at Heroes Reforged with Hector Navarro, Augie, Adam Hlavik, Augustine Rios, and then even Wendy Lee and her husband Dustin on their channel. A lot of people getting shout outs from Bryce Dallas Howard, and she just was feeling the joy, feeling the love. And many people, including us here, have been calling, whatever that means, raising our hands, calling for her to direct more Star Wars movies, shows. Otherwise, like I said, we agree. But I just thought this was a good opportunity to talk the why of the work of Bryce Dallas Howard, and why is it connecting with Star Wars fans. So let's talk about this. It's BDH Day here.
Yeah, I mean, it is really fascinating to go really relook at the episodes that she's directed, right? So season 1 is chapter 4 of Mando, Sanctuary. Season 2 is chapter 11, The Heiress. And then, of course, chapter 5 here of Boba Fett, Return of the Mandalorian. I think for me, what it is, it's fascinating to look at what is the role of the director in this context, because we often give the auteurship, right? The ultimate creative ownership of something to the director.
Yeah.
In this context, these scripts are obviously coming largely from Favreau, from Filoni, right? So it makes this really interesting question of kind of what sort of magic is Bryce Dallas Howard sprinkling?
Yeah.
Because sometimes when I go to directors, I go like, well, what are they passionate about, and how is that coming out on screen? And I think that is true, but it gets a little mitigated when they're not the author of the work too, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think ultimately for me, looking at it that way in particular, is I think that she does such a great job of taking what is magical about Star Wars, which is that it is made up of all of these different influences and tones, and she blends them together really well and makes them feel all consistent, that they
Mhm.
all go together, that the story is being told by every beat, that we are learning about the characters in every beat, regardless of if that beat is action,
Mhm.
kind of zany comedy, really tense drama, intimate moments, a sudden Star Wars exposition dump, you know?
Mhm.
There are so many things in these episodes that you could look at them on paper and go, how are we going to bring that all together? And I think the main magic is that she brings them all together and makes them feel like this one package
Mm.
that feels like Star Wars, because it's taking all of these really different tones and ideas and making them feel coherent and cohesive.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say all parts equal, right?
Mm-hmm.
She gets all parts of Star Wars, and everyone does. And there we have a large amount of just favorite directorial moments in all episodes of Mando and Boba Fett so far. But highlighting her stuff, it's just the sweet, the cute, the important, the poignant, the action. Going back to her first go around with the Sorkin stuff there in Mando Chapter 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that episode, I remember the time was it took me a second. It took me a beat. The tonal shift, there was a little tonal shift from the rest of Mando, I thought, but I think on retrospect, it not as much. It just had different music to start, right? We were fishing, we were in a village, and there was some comedy at work and play. But then I think of that sequence of that ATSD, which a lot of the marketing, toy marketing going into Mando featured that stuff because
Mm-hmm.
Raiders and that Walker was just like it was big, and for her to turn that into a Jurassic Park, Jurassic World call out, like and just pulling from her own influences and interests, and as well as again, like you said, working from the scripts, but her saying, yeah, I wanted to shoot this like a dinosaur chasing them. I wanted to this is going this past week. The N1 Starfighter is shot like a car, a car picture. It's like we're on a racetrack. We're in a garage with some American graffiti. She gets all that, but it is filtered through her. And then one of the things we talked about this past week is just her pulling the emotions
Mm-hmm.
out of all those little moments, like you said, Joseph, focus on it, whether it is sweet, whether it is funny, cute, the stuff with the children. The little Rodian, the kids reacting with Grogu, and from her perspective and experiences, as just herself as a mother, bringing that in, you can't deny that that's why it works so well for me. It just
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, and she makes the horror pop too, like that
Yes.
that scene at the top of Chapter 5 of Book of Boba Fett, of the butchery in the butcher shop is both, oh, that's Star Wars, that's cool. This is awful,
Yeah.
right? What's happening is awful, and I feel bad for Din. Like, she makes everything happen, but I think why it all works, why like the scary moments work, or the cool moments, or the thrilling moments. I think she really makes the audience care about the characters
Mm.
and feel what they're feeling. And if you look at those episodes, it's the kid's relationship with Grogu in Sanctuary,
Mm.
the budding tenderness between Mandalorian and Omera, right? Then the Eris episode, the relationship between Fish Lady and her husband, and teaching Grogu that's not a meal, that's her child,
Mm-hmm.
the Rhodian child, and that just overall sense of joy that is everywhere in that back half of the Return of the Mandalorian. She finds those moments where you can really, really feel what the characters are feeling. So then it makes everything feel more visceral, because if you care, then you worry more, and then the action is meaningful because you're worried about this person who just had a tender moment. All those things start to connect.
Yeah, and I think there's just a smoothness to her episodes, particularly this last one, and it's so fresh in my mind. Yeah, that's part of the reason. But these two distinct parts, what you called the my two moms of Din, so beautiful. It's literally two different worlds. The bright sands of Tatooine and Mos Eisley, and the comedy of Peli, and the darkness of the armor, and that sci-fi vibe. All of those kind of combining. And it just, to me, felt like the same episode. It just was the journey. And I think, again, all parts equal her being able to connect that. She is an actor's director. And I ain't an actor to tell you that, but you can just, she's had a lot of success as an actor. She knows. And the BTS stuff we saw of her on set, connecting with the performers and getting the most out of them, even sometimes beyond their abilities. You can't deny that as well, too. It's a total package.
Yeah, no, I think that's a huge thing for me. Having done a lot of acting and directing and writing for the stage, but in particular acting and directing, and this is a bias for me, so I'll put it out there. I
Mhm.
really think uh, directors who super want to engage with actors, particularly if they've been actors themselves, can sometimes just get that extra something, that's extra magic from the performers. And I think her long background as an actor really makes a difference in her being able to get the absolute most from the actors. I
Mm.
also think, it is, everybody can have skill, but skills are complemented by life experience, right?
Yeah.
In the fact that she has been immersed her entire life in the language of screen storytelling, right?
Yeah.
Some things that other people have to go to school with to learn, she probably just heard in the living room, right?
Yeah.
Since she was 5, right? Which is not in any way to say that she isn't talented, but I
Yeah.
just think, life experiences add to talent. And I think she's bringing all of those experiences to bear. When you look at chapter 5 of Book of Boba Fett, and it just looks so beautiful, you're just like, that's somebody who just uh, knows screen storytelling, like
Yeah.
on this incredibly complex and intimate level.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah. And some of those stories that she was telling of her dad and Lucas and everyone hanging out, right, was with Kurosawa. That they're all just hanging out. Was that the
Yeah.
story? Yeah. But it's, yeah, like you said, it's easy to say that. It's easy to say, well, hey, dad's a great director too. Hey, that only gets you so far in terms of, I'm just talking about skills. Yeah. You might have some stuff in there. She is so much just become her own director. It's been very clear. And without a doubt, um, the love that she's feeling from the Star Wars fans is very well earned, and it's been fun to just kind of watch.
Yeah, absolutely. She's been doing amazing work on these episodes.
And well, we want her to do more work. That's what the thought is here. So a soft pitch is here. No details needed, Joseph. What would be our dream projects for Bryce Dallas Howard to work on in the Star Wars universe?
Well, I want her to do whatever she is passionate about. I mean, that's the maybe a cheat of an answer, but honestly, the real truth. I think she has made these episodes absolutely sing. I think she has brought her real life experiences into these stories. But if she was, involved at the storytelling level and deciding what kind of story do I want to tell, I just think that could be even more powerful as we get to see like what is she the most passionate about.
Yeah.
So that's my honest answer. But then, in the interest of having more concrete answers,
Mhm.
I know there's been lots of excitement ever about the possibility of telling young Leia stories. I think she would be absolutely phenomenal at that for lots of reasons. Um, I also think that she just does such a good job with making you care about the relationships between people that I think ideas of family are so important to Star Wars, like found family. If there was a live action show that had a little bit of that vibe that Rebels does, that really puts found family first, right?
Yep.
Of a family trying to make their way through the galaxy. That also seems like a thing that she would really knock out of the park.
Yeah, yeah, definitely with you on all that there. Yeah, I get the correct answer is whatever she wants to do, right?
Yeah.
It's just whatever she wants to do. Yeah, and I don't ever want to pigeonhole someone of where, hey, this is the only kind of Star Wars story you could tell. But we have had such at times a lack of just mother
Hmm.
in Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're talking about with the family stuff. I don't need just Bryce Dallas Howard. You get the mom stories. That's not right, and it's not what I mean. But it's been lacking at times in Star Wars. So Leia with Breha Organa, those kind of moments on a bigger, grander mythic scale. If she was going to movie series or something where some of the mechanics of the story are a little different, I would be into that as well. In terms of time period, I heard of, hey, maybe she should be the one to pick up the solo mantle. Yeah, absolutely. Great. Again, cool. If she says yes and wants to do it, I'm on board. But that's So I'd be interested to see her do that kind of stuff. And I think you're right. The found family, the family in Star Wars, that'd be great.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you're saying of this idea of the mother could use some more focus on screen, and she's great at that. But that's also why I want to lead with whatever she wants, because if she's like, you know what, I want Dengar
Yeah.
to wander the galaxy just having a hard time, she'd direct that really well too. It is about what she's passionate about.
Yeah. Dengar alone in a bar. That's what fade in. You got it there. Well, we'll see. And right now, if that becomes official that it's Mando's season 3 is her next go around, we will celebrate that and let you all know. So here's to you, Bryce Dallas Howard. Everyone's excited about what you do and what you continue to do in the Star Wars galaxy. That's a look at Star Wars news for now. We're going to take a quick break in a moment. Before we do, we have an audiobook to recommend to you. Joseph, what do you got?
Yeah, we are continuing to recommend The Fallen Star by Claudia Gray. It is the latest High Republic adventure, a new book coming out very, very soon. I believe the day that we are releasing this recording, there'll be a new one out. But for now, check out Fallen Star by Claudia Gray, and then check out our big review.
Check it out. Download your free audiobook today by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audiobook. All right, quick break on the side. Your questions here on ForceCenter. Welcome back to ForceCenter, episode 396 in an ongoing series looking at Star Wars. We are going to get to some wonderful questions here. Joseph, what do we got?
Yeah, we have 2 questions from Twitter and 2 from our patrons on Patreon. As always, we'll go first to Twitter. Kungalushkev says, y'all do great work. If discussing themes in school was done as well as you do it, I'd have been an English major. Anyway, my question. Do you think Star Wars will still be around or discussed 100 years from now? Thanks. Thank you for the great question and the very kind compliment. It has been just a joy to really talk about all the cool, fun stuff of Star Wars, and also really get into the big ideas underneath. And I'm really glad that that people are responding to that and engaging with that. Ken, do you have any thoughts about that part of it before we get into the question?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I wish I could have discussed themes in school. I would have had a maybe different, well, you know, it wouldn't have led me here. So, no, it's been a lot of fun diving in. We appreciate all those kind words there.
Yeah. I mean, that was a part of my education, which is, I think, part of the reason that I was, obsessive about it. And it was a part of the English classes that I was lucky to take in high school that some of my fellow students were into and others not so much. But it's definitely some of the things that have led me to want to talk about that. So I'm very, very lucky and very grateful for that. And I also just always want to say, like, I really think I was talking to some writer friends who were really talking about how viewing is interactive at its best, right? And that's really what it is to me. Is that I was lucky to get some education that led me in this direction of thinking about things this way. But I don't think it's needed. I think it's just about being interactive. I think it's just about watching the show and asking yourself questions. And if there's something that you're not sure about, looking for an answer in the text. Asking yourself, why does a character feel that way? Why is a character doing that way? Just kind of choosing to actively put yourself in a character's space boots is what I think it's all about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, it helps explain what I can call the living history document that these stories are.
Exactly. So thanks again for those kind words. Let's get on to the actual question. Ken, do you think Star Wars will still be around or discussed 100 years from now?
Good short answer, yes, absolutely. One of the reasons is it's scary to think. I say pop culture as we know it is kind of in that 70 to 90 year range anyways, right? Going back to some of the early comics and stuff like that. And I think the modern era, the true modern era to me is mid-70s because Star Wars is part of that, right? Like
change the game a bit. Yeah.
Change the game. And Lucas going, hey, I'm nostalgic for those stories of my youth. Let's retell them here. So even then we're at 50 years of Lucasfilm. Crazy to think. So 100 years from now, 150 years. Yeah, I think whoever is here, we'll look at them. And my thought is, Joseph, that Star Wars, yeah, I don't know, right? I don't want to even dark and depressing like a sci-fi movie that George didn't want to make.
Yeah, no, but whoever's here just gave me this flash of like, maybe some aliens are going to take over. You're like, what did these people listen to? What
Yeah.
did they watch?
Or it's a record of what they think is real, like it's a documentary. They're like, well, we've come to the wrong planet. We're going to be attacked. Maybe it's the Yuzon Vong. I think Star Wars, along with some other big properties, and yeah, I'm even looking at like Lord of the Rings, not the films, but also the books and everything. But I think Star Wars itself, go with me here, will kind of become the standard bearer for myths, just like Joseph Campbell and his work was the standard bearer for like George and others making the stories. Where
Mhm.
it was always like, I read Joseph Campbell's book. I studied him, and I wrote this. I think it will be, and it already kind of is. But like, yeah, I studied Star Wars, and I wanted to tell my own myth. And Star Wars has so many influences. Dune and all these things always come up, and it's like, yeah, George has always said, yeah, I took from that stuff. I think we already see people taking from Star Wars, and I mean that in a good way. But I think it will be around and discussed in that way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're in a volatile time of history, so I don't think you're being too dark to go. It's really interesting to think what life will be like 100 years from now. Life always changes, but we're in a particularly volatile time, I think. So, yeah, I do think that Star Wars will still be discussed. I kind of think that in terms of watching it, I do wonder, Ken, if there will be a little bit of a pendulum swing against IP, big branded IP in the next 10 years or so, where there's going to be a little bit of pushback, because I think that's what happens anytime that there's a lot of one thing. There gets to be kind of a pushback against it. So I think that there's a possibility that maybe Star Wars would go into a little bit of a quieter space.
Yeah.
It's done that. It's disappeared entirely. I would argue in like the late 2000s, it was in kind of a slightly quieter space, right? Because they're
Yep.
diehard EU fans and Clone Wars is going strong, but then it re-explodes with the sequel era, right? And so I think that might, be at a low ebb at some point. But I think that, we're in such a time where, yes, people producing any sort of screen storytelling, they want IP.
Yeah.
But I do think Star Wars is different than just like a reboot of a popular sitcom from 20 years ago,
Right.
because it is always been a generational tale. It's a tale that spans thousands and thousands of years and billions of planets. So like the canvas of Star Wars is so huge. It's not like this kind of one and done reboot. And I don't think it's ever going to be that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well said. It goes on and on and on, and the story still have value. And then the thing is, yeah, you're right. If there's a pushback against IP or in any way, shape, or form, Star Wars, you and I often talk about it. Hey, I watched this movie and there was a bunch of Star Wars stuff in it, like just themes, those themes that we're talking about here, and it can inspire so many. I think that will be what keeps a lot of the spirit of Star Wars going.
Yeah. So I mean, I think for viewing, if it's even if there is kind of a pushback at the kind of pop culture that we have right now, that we're really heading into right now, I think Star Wars will ultimately survive that, even if there are ebbs. But for the discussion, I love what you're saying, Ken. I think Star Wars is always going to be discussed exactly because of the way Lucas constructed it, that it is this mix of great deep philosophy, and some of it has a kind of unique Star Wars spin, but a lot of it is philosophy that is culled from all sorts of different forms of art, forms of culture. And when you're really tied into it and think about it a lot, you see it everywhere. My wife and I had fun watching Lady from Shanghai, and film noir Orson Welles film from 1948, and they were talking about human nature and whether or not to push back on the dark sides of it. And it was like, we just had this conversation about this High Republic book
Yeah.
that relates to exactly that. It's got this depth of philosophy, but it's also packaged in all the whiz bang adventure stuff that Lucas liked. And I think that is a gift and a curse, right? The fact that it looks cool and sounds cool. It's got this package that really draws people to it. And I think that's a gift and a curse, because it draws people to it. But then some people who don't like lightsabers and wizards and spaceships and think that's lesser, it makes them kind of agitate towards Star Wars. I think it's kind of a gift and a curse that Star Wars is both pulp and depth. And I think it's always going to have this kind of people are going to want to look at it because it is both one of the most popular things ever, and then almost always it's also on the defensive. It's in this weird position where like, Star Wars, everybody loves Star Wars.
Yeah.
But we all know as fans, like everybody loves Star Wars. It's one of the most popular things ever. But a lot of times through the years, if you start a casual conversation, you will very quickly get onto what part of it people currently despise. And it will always be, I think, heralded. And also there's always going to be these critics who are like, but isn't it just wizards and spaceships? And is that really, we're really elevating this? Like that tension, I think, is still going to be here 100 years from now.
Just human nature might be. Yeah. Yeah. We'll always be on the playground having to defend our t-shirts. Yeah.
Exactly. It'll be long forgotten that people didn't like the prequels, but we will be fighting about the new trilogy of films about Boba Fett's great grandchildren.
Yes.
Any other thoughts, Ken?
No, I won't be there, but you all who are listening 100 years from now, hope you enjoyed Star Wars.
Well, I'm going to try to follow the Bomar Monks idea, and I'm going to I want to be a brain in a jar so I can at least listen to the future podcasts. Yeah. Moving on to our next question from David Bednar. David says, what are your top 3 this is good Star Wars things that you just love to see in a Star Wars thing? It could be anything from characters to aesthetics to plot twists. My 3, for example, are 1, cool jackets, 2, people squabbling, 3, sudden unexpected Muppets. And then David included a gif of Cloney from Rise of Skywalker. So Ken, this could be 8 podcasts, right? But to entertain this question, what are your 3 things?
Yeah, and I cheated. Here we go. Number 1, I will say, and this is very vague, right? Very just general, but sound effects. I don't, to the genius of Ben Burt and Matthew Wood and all that have come after, the seismic charges, but go back to that Wookiee growling, the Falcon taking off, a lightsaber, the hiss of a lightsaber, all those things we love. Anytime there's a new sound or a reworking of an old one, or you hear that thing, seismic charges, every time it pops up, it's like, ooh. But even hearing, I remember Star Wars Rebels, that first episode, and the speeder bikes go by, and they're different versions of speeder bikes, but they definitely sound like the ones on Endor, and that just kind of makes you go, oh yeah, this is Star Wars. So I'm going to start there.
Oh, that's very good. Okay, that's your number 1.
It's my yes. Well, I guess I didn't exactly rank these. I just kind of dumped them all on the table. But yes, that's my first one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell you what. Why don't you go through your whole list and then I'll go through mine.
Okay. Next on the list is capes. Got to have a good cape. From Vader to Krennic. Krennic's the big one for me because Lando, maybe the king of capes. Kira, maybe now we call her the queen of capes. But I look at the Krennic, this middle management guy, grumpy, dastardly. But I look at his outfit, I'm like, oh man, that's a great outfit. I love that outfit. So you got to have a good cape in space. That's
right. Like if you walked into a party, you would assume like he's the one throwing it because of that cape.
Yeah, exactly. So when a character shows up and they have a cool cape, they are Star Wars. And then this one, I will say I tried to, when I looked at David's list of people squabbling, I was like, yeah, that's pretty funny. That's kind of there too. And I was like, do I have a version of that? And I was thinking of like inspirational moments or when the music swells, and John Williams could be the answer for a lot of things about Star Wars. But I went through people smiling at people. There's a lot of moments where it's our heroes and it's a little smile, whether it's sad, like Cassian and Jyn, smiling as they're going up that elevator, a little tiny moment of just say, hey, it's here. Or, Han giving one of his, hey, it's me kind of smiles. Even Luke and R2 when he's on the Falcon in Last Jedi, and he kind of smiles and gives him a wry smile when R2 cheats. There's just a lot of that all the way through.
Oh, yeah. Obi-Wan smiling at Luke right before he lets Vader cut him apart.
See, uplifting smiles. Yes.
I think that's a good rank topic. Best smiles in Star Wars.
Best smiles. Best, wry smiles before death.
That is great. Did you really hold yourself to 3 or did you have runner-ups?
Oh, I had one that snuck in. Because on the other side of that, I thought, I really do like people smiling. It's joy. It's Star Wars. On the other side, I like stern British people. Love my Imperial officers. Who doesn't love, Veer's barking orders? Piet, bounty hunter. We don't need their scum. So yeah, I think that has its place in Star Wars. You always kind of need a a stern British officer just glowering all around the galaxy.
Yeah, man. And now if we could just see a stern British officer break into a smile,
Yeah,
a heartfelt smile.
it's why I love, Captain Moden Kennedy, man. For some reasons, Mark Lewis Jones just so it's like, yes, exactly. 5 bloody minutes ago, we needed this.
That's a great list. I did have a couple of runner-ups. Spaceships landing and just taking their sweet time to land. That's a very Star Wars thing to me. Cool armor is another one. I think if just the kind of exotic space armor, everything from Praetorian Guards to Boba Fett to stormtroopers to snow troopers, cool armor.
Right.
Found family, that's a big one.
Oh.
So those are the 3 of the runner-ups, and I tried to just answer this, Ken, just in my gut for me. You're like, because I think that's the spirit of David's question of like, what is like that makes me go, all right, let's do some Star Wars. The very, very first one that just jumped to my mind is a great lightsaber ignition moment.
Oh, yeah. About 10 just popped in my brain at once. Yeah.
Right. Because most of the times, like in Clone Wars, where, hey, we're in the era where there's a lot of Jedi, like sometimes it's like, it's Tuesday. And so 8 lightsabers just ignited. Every once in a while, it's like that. But so many moments in Star Wars are about that. Oh, here it comes.
Right.
Luke in Return of the Jedi is one of the big ones for me, right? Of grabbing that saber and that little look of satisfaction as it ignites. Vader in the hallway in Rogue One, right? Where when I first saw that, a woman behind me literally swore. She literally said, "Oh, bleep," when the lightsaber came on. Like, okay, well, now we know what's coming. Maul in The Phantom Menace, right? Tara Sinube in Clone Wars ripping out his cane saber. And,
sure.
Latest on, I think I was on my mind because that was one of the great moments of, Return of the Mandalorian Book of Boba Fett episode here, where it wasn't just cool, Mando has the darksaber. It's that everything slows down. The lightsaber ignition moments are often everything else about the character stops moving, so it's only the blade moving, and then the character springs into action, right? It's this like very rhythmic beat, and it was there with Mando.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a big one for me. Another one is just on the emotional level. Smile was great. I went with a triumph of the light side. I think heroes often win, but one of the things that's always going to make it feel like Star Wars to me is that it is a triumph of working together, or even though it's difficult, choosing the path of empathy and kindness, and just a triumph where not only did the heroes win, but they won in the way that they want to fight, right? Like I think we've talked so much about the Kenobi Maul duel in Rebels, where Kenobi has to fight to defend Luke, but there's nothing but really empathy in it, right? And the way he holds Maul. Luke projecting to Crate and knowing like, I need to be seen as a hero. I need to save everybody. But I don't need to raise a lightsaber to Kylo. It's not going to do anything for anybody, Leia reaching out to Ben, especially just after, Ben saying, I can never go back to her, right? I could list a million of them, but it's that feeling of not only did the hero win, but they won in this way that is how they want to fight.
Yeah, love it. That's big. That's the spirit of Star Wars right there.
Yeah, that's a big spirit of Star Wars for me. And then to end on the really enjoying the pulp side of thing, a bonkers weird alien.
Yeah. Okay.
You can see aliens lots of places. If this was my Star Trek list, this would be aliens with odd, foreheads and bridges of their nose. But for Star Wars, it's the hammerheads, the Momana Duns, the Lulilo Primarch, the Jarl Poof. We're like, this is bordering between cool and just absurd, right? That's Star Wars, just a weird alien
along with an unexpected Muppet. It's all connected. It's all connected.
It's all connected. It all comes together. Great list, Ken. Great question, David. Any other thoughts before we move on?
No, other than I still got to get one of those capes at Galaxy's Edge.
Exactly. I look forward to the next time we podcast in person and you have a cape.
Be careful what you ask for.
Moving on to our question from our patrons on Patreon. This one comes from Brendan Bozarth. Brendan says, hey guys, thanks as always for sharing your Star Wars wisdom. You've inspired me to start my own podcast called The Best Spin Broadcast. That's great. Anyway, musicals, says Brendan. I'm personally not a big fan of them, but had a fun idea recently. If the Star Wars films, or really any Star Wars content, were made into musicals with songs, what songs could fit into the story? I can definitely imagine Luke singing about wanting to find adventure while looking at the binary sunset, or Rey and Kylo having an awesome duet. Also, a song by Krennic about climbing the Imperial ladder could probably be pretty sweet. I think it's me and my cape are going places, right?
Yes.
I'm excited to hear what you guys come up with. So did you, how many did you come up with, Ken?
Wow, I came up with 5.
Oh, wow. Okay. You know what? I'll go first this time, and then we can close out with your list.
Got it.
Yeah. So, because let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, I held myself to 5 too. I love what Brendan's saying because, I was talking to a friend about musicals a while back. I wrote a musical for the stage, and they're telling me about the "I Want" song, how much that is a structure, and like, oh, you mean like Luke looking at the twin suns?
Right.
It's such an "I Want" moment. That's a perfect place. Strangely, maybe I like melodramatic musicals, but almost all of mine are villains. I thought a little bit of a melancholy song that could kind of turn into a bit of a power ballad, but it is a Vader on the bridge in Return of the Jedi singing a song called "It's Too Late for Me, Son."
Yes.
I was going to come up with like musical titles, and like just a lot of the dialogue is like, that's a song.
Yeah.
That's a song title from a musical, right?
Totally. Totally.
Then I went to Solo. I think Kira would have some powerful songs, right? Because the other idea about musicals, right, is you sing what the character can't express any other way when they're at the peak of emotion and something has to burst.
Yeah.
So I could see a song like maybe on Savareen, maybe on the elevator riding up to see Dryden Voss, but Kira singing a song to Han called "We All Serve Somebody." Han doesn't sing, but he has some like a talking patter where he's like, "Nah, come on, Kira, let's go away, Kira." But she's belting. We all serve somebody, trying to get her point across.
Love that. Great.
A big one for me. This would be a large production number, and that is Sheev Palpatine, Darth Sidious singing "Unlimited Power."
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I knew we'd cross over on one. I absolutely, and I wrote the word "powered ballad" next to it too.
Right. I think he gets up. He's putting the hood over, right?
Yes.
And, yeah, and then maybe when he announces the creation of the Empire in front of the Senate, he sings a little bit of it quietly to himself as a little reprise.
Yes, absolutely.
2 more for me. Jump into the sequels. There's a lot in the sequels, but I think one of the characters who is bursting with emotion is Kylo Ren, and the song I want to hear from Kylo Ren is called "I Will Finish," and then in parentheses, "What You Started."
I will finish what you started. Yeah.
Yep. A big song to his grandfather's helmet. This is, I think, maybe the end of the act before you go for intermission type song.
Yeah.
And then finally, in the sequels, I wanted to have Kira's kind of a hero in my book, in her own twisted way. She's a victim of circumstances trying to make her way in the galaxy, but I wanted to have one that was just absolutely a hero. I think it would be great if at the end of The Last Jedi, when Luke's looking out at those suns and looking forward to the next adventure as he is about to become one with the Force, if he had a reprise of his original "I Want" song.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'd be beautiful. And then if you have season tickets to the Pantages, you're like, oh, it's just like that other one. Oh, it's great.
Same melody, but maybe with some different lyrics, or ironically reinterpreted to show how far he's come.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is my list. Let's hear yours.
Yeah, we're going to hear it with some heavy equipment behind me here, some construction going on. So I apologize if anyone's hearing that. So this is, I feel like, Brendan, I have to qualify too. I love music, love rock music. I respect all forms of entertainment. I've never been a musical person, whether it's stage or movie. So, but I feel you, Brendan, where you're like, I guess I don't really like these, but here's all my ideas about it. So maybe you like it more than you know. But I am someone who burned out a VHS copy of Grease. Olivia Newton-John Travolta as a kid. I thought that high school was going to be like. So I did Palpatine's power ballad, Unlimited Power is where I start to. I mean, how could he not? That's just, especially if Ian McDarmidge is unlimited power. You got to have that there. And then I thought we were going to cross over again too, because I went to Solo, Han and Kira, and I even went to Savareen. You correctly focused on Kira and her themes and her point of view, but I went to this. I want to hear the song "Good Guy, Bad Scoundrel."
Ooh,
Where it's a conversation piece, and she's like, "You're a good guy, Han. Why can't you face it? I'm a scoundrel, Kira. Why can't you say it?" Like, this is what I want. I want them back. I want them to talk about.
That sounds like an idea that came from somebody who wore out the VHS of Grease, for sure.
It does. It does. Savareen loving happens so fast. Corellia loving. All right. I'll stop. I'm not a singer. Then I went to Phantom Menace. And I went to Shmi Skywalker's song, Time to Let Him Go.
Oh, that is painful and beautiful.
Yes, right. And if I'm thinking of musical, just thinking of her, just like, he was meant to help you. Yeah. This is what I want. And then another sad one. I guess I'm going to sad musicals. I want Cassian and Jin singing Your Father Would Be Proud.
Oh,
which is the title of that piece of music there that I just absolutely love. And I think, she would say things to him as well about how his family would be proud, but I just love that moment there too. And then the final one.
Sorry, I could just really see the production of that as they have this huge note, and then maybe ends with just a little small one. Father would have been proud, and then the wave comes up and the lights come down.
The orange lights in the back of the house, and boom, and then there we go.
Yep. Now go buy your $8 small jug of ice cream with a wooden spoon.
Absolutely. And then I guess I could toss in one of my runner-ups was the Lene Lament, the Caretaker song. About them working and Ray getting in the way of that. And then the final one to clear the palate, I guess, because I got, we had some sad tear-jerking kind of songs going on here. I want a fun montage piece called from Boba Fett and the Tusken Tribe Choir called Like a Bantha.
Like a Bantha. Very good. Would you want a Sarlacc song called Feed Me, where it's thrilled as things are being thrown into its gullet?
Yes, absolutely. Give me that little shop of Sarlacc.
Little shop of Sarlacc. That is a great question that gave us a lot of joy, a lot of fun there, Brendan. So thank you. Move on to our final question. Sadly, non-musical, but we can always sing our answers, Ken. This comes from Steve Nort. Steve says, "Hey, Ken and Joseph, I have a timeline question regarding the intersection of events between The Mandalorian Chapter 5 and Chapter 4 of Book of Boba Fett. In Boba Fett, he notices the flares shot off in the distance from Din. By the time the events of Mando Episode 5 wrap up, Fennec was shot down around sunrise. An entire day would have likely passed by the time Boba arrived at the scene to find her body. Do we think it's reasonable to assume it took Boba a whole day's worth of travel to reach Fennec, and for Fennec to be on the brink of death all day in the Tatooine sun? I am fine with suspending disbelief, and this in no way ruins anything for me. It's just something I noticed during a recent rewatch of Mando. Thanks for your thoughts." This is a good one.
Yeah.
Ken, have you done the rewatch to time out exactly how long poor Fennec was lying there waiting to be rescued?
I will now. I had a little bit of that thought watching it, but yeah, I'm with you on Steve. It's fun to think these things. It doesn't take the joy away at all. But yeah. I mean, I guess you start, Joseph, with it's just like them Banthas is slow.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really do think that there is nothing in the way that Bantha movement is shot that makes it feel like they're going they're going fast, right? There's a reason they weren't catching that train on Banthas. And there's been a lot of discussion about exactly when did all the time pass? And I think this from Boba coming out of the Sarlacc to where we caught up, where he rescues Fennec, where it's been years, as he says. That's where I was trapped in the Sarlacc all those years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This might explain where the years went. Like if every time Boba's like, well, I'm going to go into town and check on something. I'm going to go over to Jabba's palace. If it took him a couple days each time, it starts to explain where the years went.
I love it. I think part of it is it's being such a Game of Thrones fan. You just have to sometimes realize this scene is happening 9 months after the previous scene. Like a lot of time happens, a lot of different places. So I'm with you, Steve, on that one there. Yeah, I just think it took time, and I think Fennec was gone, dead, and in a way to me. So all more reason to celebrate the wretched and fate sometimes shining on him.
Yeah, Left for Dead on the sands of Tatooine. Yeah, I mean, and I think this time I rewatched it briefly because I hadn't watched some of those beats, and that was a really fun reason to. So thank you for that, Steve. But yeah, I think it tracks pretty much that Fennec is shot at sunrise, and even in that Mando episode, it's night again.
Mhm.
When Boba comes to her. So yeah, I think either it took Boba a day, or there's always this possibility that Boba had a whole other adventure on the way that we don't know about. Like he would
Yeah,
have been there
yeah.
in 20 minutes, but some other exciting adventure that we'll read a book about sometime happened.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what he went? He went and purchased Leia's dress from the Ewoks.
He left planet.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Like, I'm going to go check these out, but bumped into something. Yeah.
Mhm.
Fascinating stuff. And then for me, like, yeah, I think I do have a little bit of headcanon that, Fennec's got looks like some good armor. So I think for me, that's my headcanon about why
Mm.
she was able to live as long as she did, not only until Boba found her, but then Boba taking her to the parlor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Little protective systems in there. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, things didn't go great for Fennec's organs, but she did live for quite some time.
I know she's got some great mechanical artwork in her now.
She sure does. Why cover it up? Is beautiful. Great scene in that mod parlor, in my opinion. Any other thoughts on this question?
No, I love it, and just love that we can climb into the stories. And Star Wars always has those little shadows of story that you need to roam around in.
Yeah, absolutely. And Star Wars timelines and exactly how long it takes to get from point A to point B that's going to be a whole field of study 100 years from now.
Yeah.
Those are our questions, Ken.
Those are our questions, and that is our episode. A lot of fun hanging out with all of you here today. If you want to connect with us, ask your own questions when we post a tweet looking for questions, you can do so by following us on Twitter at ForceCenterPod. We are on Instagram and YouTube as well. Facebook page is ForceCenter Podcast. We can be found on a lot of spots, including Acast, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. Merch is available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter. Currently have a show running exclusively on the Companion. Check out the Companion app, sign up, and get our show, Databank Dive. You can support us directly at patreon.com/ForceCenter. If you want to find me, you found me. I'm here in ForceCenter, but you can go to KenNapzok.com or follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and the like at Ken Napzok. We also like to highlight things that are charities, causes, things that are important to us right now. I'm still highlighting the fine folks at St. Baldrick's Foundation at stbaldricks.org. This is a not-for-profit organization with the aim of raising funds to help find cures for children with cancer. And my friend Jeff Saunders, podcaster, a great guy, and a nurse at a children's cancer hospital, does work with them, and they've got a big head shaving charity drive coming up. You can support his or just anyone under the St. Baldrick's banner by going to stbaldricks.org.
That's great.
There you go, Joseph.
Yeah, you can find me Twitter, Instagram, TikTok is at Joseph Scrimshaw, and you can check out all my other comedy adventures on my website, josephscrimshaw.com. I would like to highlight the group Illuminative. Here's what the group has to say about themselves. Created and led by Native peoples, Illuminative is a new nonprofit initiative designed to increase the visibility of and challenge the negative narrative about Native nations and peoples in American society. Some of their projects include creating opportunities for Native creators in TV and film, ending the use of Native cultures, mascots, and sports, Native storytelling projects, and a bunch more stuff. So if you're interested in finding out more, donating, getting involved, you can go to illuminatives.org.
Great stuff. Wonderful choice there, Joseph. And what a fun episode. I am going to go sing with Kira, Han, Shmi, and the Banthas. So for Joseph, for all of you listening, thank you. We'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.